Video Part 3. Hello, Assalamualaikum. This is Evi Sayono. Today on February 28, 2026 at 6:36 a.m. in the morning, I will continue my reading of a book entitled Teaching English as a Second or Foreign Language, 4th edition. Authors Marianne Celce-Murcia, Donna M. Brinton, Marguerite N. Snow. Published by National Geographic Learning, a part of Cengage Learning, Boston, 2014. Unit 1, Foundation of Methodology. Chapter 1, An Overview of Language Teaching Methods and Approaches. Marianne Celce-Murcia. Now, I shall be reading the continuation of Grammar Translation Approach. Page 5, Column 1, Paragraph 1. The following is a synthesis of the key elements of the Grammar Translation Approach. In brackets, Kelly, 1969. Bullet point 1. Instruction is given in the native language of the students. Bullet point 2. There is little use of the target language for communication. Bullet point 3. The focus is on grammatical parsing, that is, the forms and inflections of words. Bullet point 4. There is early reading of difficult text. Bullet point 5. A typical exercise is to translate sentences from the target language into the mother tongue, in brackets, or vice versa. Bullet point 6. The result of this approach is usually an inability on the part of the student to use the language for communication. Bullet point 7. The teacher does not have to be able to speak the target language fluently. Page 5, Column 1, Paragraph 2. The direct method. The swinging of the pendulum continued. By the end of the 19th century, the direct method, which once more stressed as its goal the ability to use rather than to analyze a language, had begun to function as viable alternative to grammar translation method. François Gon, a Frenchman, began to publish his work on the direct method in 1880. He advocated exclusive use of the target language in the classroom, having been influenced by an older friend, the German philosopher-scientist Alexander von Humboldt, who had espoused the notion that a language cannot be taught, that one can only create conditions for learning to take place. Kelly, 1969. The direct method became very popular in France and Germany, and even today, it has enthusiastic followers among language teachers in many countries. In brackets, as does the grammar translation approach. Key features of the direct method are: Bullet point 1. No use of the mother tongue is permitted. In brackets, EDEST. The teacher does not need to know the student's native language. Bullet point number 2. Lessons begin with dialogues and anecdotes in modern conversational style. Actions and pictures are used to make meanings clear. Page 5. Column 2. Paragraph 1. Bullet points number 4. Grammar is learned inductively, in brackets, EDEST, by repeated exposure to language in use, not through rules about forms. Bullet point 5. Literary texts are read for pleasure and are not analyzed grammatically. Bullet point 6. The target culture is also taught inductively. Bullet point 7. The teacher must be a native speaker or have native-like proficiency in the target language. The influence of the direct method grew. It crossed the Atlantic in the early 20th century when Emile de Souza, a disciple of Goyen, traveled to Cleveland, Ohio to see to it that all foreign language instruction in the public schools there implemented the direct method. De Souza's endeavor, however, was not completely successful, in brackets, in Cleveland or elsewhere, since at the time there were too few foreign language teachers in the United States who were highly proficient speakers of the language they were teaching. In brackets, Prator, 1974. The Reform Movement. In 1886, during the same period that the direct method first became popular in Europe, the International Phonetic Association was established by scholars such as Henry Sweet, Wilhelm Viator, and Paul Passy. They developed the International Phonetic Alphabet, a transcription system designed to unambiguously represent the sounds of any language, and became part of the reform movement in language teaching in the 1890s. These phoneticians made some of the first truly scientific contributions to language teaching when they advocated principles such as the following. In brackets, Howard, 2004. Bullet point 1. The spoken form of a language is primary and should be taught first. Bullet point 2. The findings of phonetics should be applied to language teaching. Bullet point 3. Language teachers must have solid training in phonetics. Bullet point 4. Learners should be given basic phonetic training to establish good speech habits. The work of these influential phoneticians focused on the teaching of pronunciation and oral skills, which they felt had been ignored in grammar translation. Thus, although the reform movement is not necessarily considered a full-blown pedagogical approach to language teaching, its adherents did have a significant influence on certain subsequent approaches, as we will see. Early and mid-20th century approaches. The reading approach. In the early decades of the 20th century, the Modern Language Association of America, based on the Coleman Report, in brackets, Coleman 1929, endorsed the reading approach to language teaching. The report's authors felt that, given the skills and limitation of most language teachers, all that one could reasonably expect was for students to come away from the study of a foreign language being able to read the target language, with emphasis on some of the great works of literature and philosophy that have been produced in that language. As reflected in the work of Michael West in brackets 1941 and others, this approach held sway in North America until the late 1930s and early 1940s. Elements of the reading approach are: Bullet point 1. Only the grammar useful for reading comprehension is taught. Bullet point 2. Vocabulary is controlled at first, in brackets, based on frequency and usefulness, and then expanded. Bullet point 3. Translation is once more a respectable classroom procedure. Bullet point 4. Reading comprehension is the only language skill emphasized. Bullet point 5. The teacher does not need to have good oral proficiency in the target language. Bullet point 6. The first language is used to present reading material. Discuss it and check understanding.